Coming up today, expressways back to Seoul are expected to be congested today as families return home following the Chuseok holiday. Despite strong international pressure, North Korea again vows to go ahead with a rocket launch next month to mark a key political anniversary. Plus, Pope Francis meets with victims of child sex abuse and decries the priest pedophile scandal, saying God weeps over what has happened. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello and welcome. It's 6 a.m. on Monday, September 28th here in Seoul. I'm Mark Broome and you're tuned in to our early morning edition of Arirang News. And we start with the latest on the traffic conditions here in Korea on this third day of the four-day Chuseok Thanksgiving holiday. Most highway traffic nationwide is running pretty smoothly at this hour, but congestion is expected to steadily worsen from around 8 a.m. as many Koreans plan to return home from visiting their families and graves of their ancestors on this Monday morning. The Korea Expressway Corporation forecasts traffic to reach its peak later in the afternoon before easing up past midnight. Now, Chuseok is a time of year when families gather together to reconnect with loved ones, but not everyone has that privilege. A number of war-separated family members in South Korea gathered at Imjinggak Park over the weekend to remember and pray for their relatives north of the border. Kwon Jang-ho takes us there.
These are a few of the 66,000 people in South Korea that have been separated from their families due to the Korean War. They are taking part in Manghangje, a ritual ceremony for the homesick. They have gathered here in Imjinggak because it's just a stone's throw away from the inter-Korean border. They want to be as physically close to their homes and relatives for the Chuseok holiday.
It's been almost 70 years since I've seen my cousins. Of course, I miss them, especially when I come to an event like this. I worry about them so much.
Since 1988, almost 130,000 people in South Korea have registered as members of separated families. Half have passed away, almost all never having seen their families and homes again. Since 2000, a series of family reunions have been arranged by both Koreas, but only a handful of people have had the chance to take part. There's another reunion next month, but the chance of being picked is over 600 to 1. None of the people here have been selected. Decades have passed, and new lives have been made, but the memories and emotions of home are still raw.
1950, December 17th, 7 in the evening. I told my mother I would be back soon. That was 65 years ago already. I feel so guilty, I would have nothing to say to her now, other than I'm sorry.
I miss my home so much. My heart aches. The pain is indescribable. I wish I could walk through my hometown. I would embrace it and just cry. I pray and pray for that day to come.
Even after 65 years, for the separated families, the memories of their home and relatives remain strong, and they live in hope that one day they will see them again. Kwon Jang-ho, Arirang News.
North Korea has renewed its vow to launch what it claims to be a satellite next month to coincide with a key anniversary. The North's official radio Pyongyang said Sunday that space science research and satellite development is an autonomous right of a sovereign state. It criticized South Korea for habitually interfering in what it called a fair and legitimate action. Earlier on the same day, Pyongyang made similar comments through its propaganda site, DPRK Today, saying its satellite launch was aimed at scientific and technological development for both economic growth and improvement of the people's lives. The launch is widely viewed by experts as cover for a test of the North's ballistic missile technology. Experts believe North Korea will conduct the launch sometime around October 10th to mark the 70th anniversary of its ruling Workers' Party. President Park Geun-hye says stronger cooperation with the United States and China is vital for a reunified Korea. During a meeting with the heads of several research institutes on Korean issues in New York over the weekend, the president described reunification as the ultimate solution for curbing Pyongyang's nuclear ambitions and human rights violations. The communist state is believed to be preparing for a long-range rocket launch to commemorate, as we mentioned, the 70th anniversary of the founding of its ruling Workers' Party. President Park added Seoul will counter any provocations from Pyongyang in a stern manner while keeping the door open for dialogue. Japan is considering deploying Aegis destroyers to the East Sea and the East China Sea to block a possible missile test by North Korea. The launch is widely expected, like we keep saying, around October 10th to mark that anniversary of the North's ruling Workers' Party. Japan's Sankei Shimbun reported Sunday that an Aegis cruiser equipped with an anti-ballistic missile system could be deployed to preempt any North Korean projectiles that enter Japanese territory. The Daily also said Patriot advanced capability interceptor systems could be deployed near Tokyo and Okinawa. Now, President Park Geun-hye on Sunday presided over a UN session on sustainable development. She referred to South Korea's development experience in stressing the importance of quality education and the government's leadership. Hwang Sang-hee reports from New York.
President Park Geun-hye stressed the importance of education in setting up an effective system for sustainable development. The remark came at a UN session on Sunday local time that was co-presided by President Park and her Chilean counterpart Michelle Bachelet. She explained that South Korea's investment in education in the 1970s created quality jobs and led to an inclusive growth. President Park also emphasized the importance of the government's leadership in establishing an effective system for sustainable development, referring to Seoul's Semaul movement. The Semaul movement is a government-led initiative that led the modernization of the rural Korean economy in the 1970s. Following the UN session, President Park attended a luncheon meeting with her counterparts from major countries on climate change. There, the leaders agreed on coming up with a long-term vision to keep global warming below 2 degrees Celsius. President Park said she plans to strengthen countermeasures against climate change for both South and North Korea, adding that such cooperation will help building trust on the Korean peninsula. On the sidelines of the UN meeting, President Park held separate summit talks with her Pakistani and Danish counterparts and is set to meet with the Nigerian leader later on this Sunday. Hwang Sang-hee, Arirang News, New York.
Now, speaking on the last day of his first U.S. trip, Pope Francis told gathered bishops in Philadelphia that God weeps for the victims of clerical sexual abuse and those responsible will be punished. The Pope's remarks came after he met with abuse victims and the day after he led a packed mass at Madison Square Garden in New York. Pope Francis also met with around 100 inmates at Philadelphia's largest prison on Sunday. The inmates were chosen based on their behavioral records and their attendance at religious services in prison. And the Pope has just started his final Mass before more than 1 million people in Philadelphia. He'll depart for Rome in a few hours' time. France has launched airstrikes against the Islamic group that calls itself Islamic State in Syria for the first time. The French president's office says that France is confirming its resolute commitment to fight against the terrorist threat represented by IS. It added that France will strike every time its national security is at stake. France had previously limited its campaign against the Islamist terror group to Iraq, but French planes started flying reconnaissance missions over Syria earlier this month. Officials say the French attack destroyed an Islamic State training camp in the east of Syria. Now, numbers show Koreans' average lifespan has increased over the years, but a closer look reveals they're also living with more illness than ever, with many suffering from a range of diseases in the last decade of their lives. Our Park Ji-won shows us the results of a recent survey.
Koreans' healthy life expectancy, which is an estimate of how many years someone might live in a healthy state, is 68 years old for men and 72 for women. The ranking puts Koreans in 9th out of 188 surveyed countries worldwide, according to a recent study by the University of Washington and published in the British medical journal Lancet. Japan tops the list with a healthy life expectancy of 71 for men and 75 for women. That sounds like good news, but in Korea, like in the rest of the world, the gap between healthy life expectancy and life expectancy is growing, indicating that people are living longer but with more illness. In Korea, the gap between life expectancy and healthy life expectancy is almost 10 years. Life expectancy for men is 77 years old and 83 years old for women, meaning men have 9 years of illness before they die and women 11 years. The gap is mostly due to chronic diseases, and according to a separate study by the Korea Institute for Health and Social Affairs, Koreans over the age of 65 have an average of 3 chronic diseases each. The most common are high blood pressure, arthritis, and stroke.
As Korea is rapidly becoming an aging society, Korea's healthy life expectancy is highly likely to decrease due to such chronic diseases.
The study's lead author says health policy should now focus on ways to prevent or treat the major causes of illness to keep citizens in good health so that they can invest more time and energy into enhancing the quality of their lives. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
Now, with rising interest in healthy eating, more consumers are buying their farm products fresh through local farmers' markets. In fact, more households are opting to spend at these outlets than go to the mega retailers, and it has become quite the win-win deal for producers and consumers. Our Park Se-young has this story.
At this local food market, farmers sell their fresh produce. There has been a sharp rise in sales recently, with more people looking to buy fresher and cheaper farm products.
Selling goods directly provides us with a stable income, and I can take pride in providing consumers with food that is safe.
I come to farmers' markets more often than supermarkets because I can trust the producers and the products are cheaper.
According to research by Korea's Rural Development Administration, the ratio of consumers shopping at farmers' markets has been on the rise. Figures showed in 2011, out of 1,000 households, 13.9% bought their fruit at large supermarkets, but last year that dropped by over a percentage point to 12.8%. Meanwhile, those buying fruit at farmers' markets jumped from 9.3% to 16.3% in the same period, up 7 percentage points. With more people choosing to shop at farmers' markets, producers are able to cut back on room for retail markups, contributing to a 35% rise in income. In return, consumers are able to buy fresh farm products for about 12% cheaper than prices at large retailers. The Rural Development Administration expects the number of direct distribution outlets to continue to grow on the back of falling distribution costs in the future. Park Se-young, Arirang News.
Now, we hear all the time about oil prices, but global milk prices have hit their lowest mark in 6 years, and the slowing global economy is posing even greater threats to Korea's milk exports. So, dairy businesses here in the country are stepping up their game to find new ways to win back the hearts of consumers. Oh Soo-young tells us more.
우유를 대신할 수 있는 건 우유밖에 없습니다. 우유를 멈추지 마세요.
Milk used to be the healthy drink of choice for adults and kids alike for over a century. But now, that milk that so many consumed with great diligence is in trouble. Global demand for the drink has been free-falling over the past decade. And latest numbers show that Koreans are drinking less milk, with the country's consumption dropping to the lowest level in 13 years, despite the average hitting 38 kilograms per person a year in the past. This has led to the largest oversupply of milk in 12 years. Experts say some of the biggest reasons could be low fertility rates, an increase in other drink options, and high production costs of sterilised milk. But the milk industry is hoping to turn over a new leaf, coming up with new ideas to win back the hearts of former milk lovers. Aside from the good old chocolate and strawberry-flavoured milk, businesses are putting out milk that comes in flavours like honeydew, watermelon, cheese and much more. Various milk-based or milk-derived products such as yogurt, cheese and dairy snacks also offer a light of hope for dairy producers, as they have seen a surge in sales in recent years. On top of that, Korea has resumed sterilised milk exports to China after hitting a snag on import regulations that halted shipments for 14 months. The Korean dairy industry is pinning high hopes on this resumption of outbound shipments to the neighbouring country, with expectations that it will help relieve the nation's record-high oversupply in milk. Oh Seung, Arirang News.
Well, that's all we have for now. I'm Mark Broome. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. We'll be back throughout the day with more newscasts. Goodbye.